Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Heitz, President of the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania, and you are listening to White Canes Connect.
Hey there, PA Federationists. Welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. My name is David Goldstein. I am your first vice president. Joining me today and actually going to run the show is White Canes Connect creator and co-host Lisa Bryant. Lisa, how are you today?
I am well, David, and it was fun doing this because I got to interview you and Lynn. My only regret is that we didn't do this a little sooner so I could get some fresher recollections. But you guys did a great job talking about the convention in July in New Orleans, some great reflections and sort of giving those of us who weren't there really genuine insights and kind of making us feel like, darn, I really missed out.
I'll tell you, it's a great place to go. New Orleans was a great place to go. The food was outstanding, which I'm sure nobody is surprised at. But as we get older, it is harder to remember even a few days after something went on.
You got to get that while it's hot, right?
Yeah.
And there was so much. And,
yes.
In your defense and in Lynn's, you guys are doing so much more than just simply attending and taking in like us mere mortals. You're having to run so many other things. So it gets complicated. We understand. I enjoyed talking with both of you. I did feel like I was there. Thank you. Or I guess, should I say thank you for making me? Now I feel like I'm hating a little bit. But anyway, let's listen to your reflections, yours and Lynn's, on the NFB 2025 convention in New Orleans. Hi, Lynn. Hi, David. As is customary, we try to do at least one post-national convention episode, and we do it for the state too. So David is switching gears. He's on the other side. Well, I can't say other side of the mic because you're still on the same side of the mic, but in a different seat as one of the interviewers. So hi, guys.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well.
This is a very unfamiliar position for me.
So for those of us, present company included, who were not there this year, just wanted to get your reflections and your just thoughts on how it went this year. Let's talk about some numbers first. How many did we have from the for representing Pennsylvania, and where is that number in terms of, average? Lynn, do you want to answer that one?
There were 56, both in person. It was a combination of in person and virtual.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that in person, there were about 40, 42 people.
And is that our average, kind of?
That's actually really good.
Okay.
That's really good for our affiliate.
How many first-timers again?
We had 10, and we had 4 national scholarship finalists, which was very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And 1 Kenneth Jernigan Leadership in Service graduate.
And what about national numbers? Either of you have any data on just how many rookies we had in the roundup this year?
I don't know how many, quote, rookies, unquote, were there. I believe the total attendance was around 2,600, which was a little light for New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I thought John had told us when we had John Berggren on, I thought he had said they did 2,600 or so last year and they were looking for around 2,700 or something like that.
I wanted to start with kind of like a overview, like a bird's eye view of how everything went, and then go into more particulars about awards and speeches and any cool things you saw while there. So David, overall, and I know you had some other kerfuffles, as Judge Judy says, going on, but how was the convention for you this year, aside from all the administrative demands?
When I was doing the different sessions, it was perfect. Everything about it was good. Thursday night, for example, we had our caucus. We then had a meeting to go to, which, as is the usual case, when you have something, there's always more than one thing going on. So we left the caucus, we went to this other thing, and then we left that thing, and then I went to another thing. I got to meet up with some folks from the leadership cohort that I was part of back in March, and I didn't think I was going to get to meet with them, and it was very brief. I took a picture with a couple of folks, and we talked briefly. I was maybe there 5 or 10 minutes, and then I was off to another, and if you are at National Convention, this is for anybody listening. If you are at National Convention next year and you see Everett Bacon and Patty Chang and their fundraising session, go to that. It is so good. Now, Patty couldn't make it this year, but so I sent Liz. Liz went to it and she took notes. And then when I got done, I went in, and it is awesome. It is just so good that when I was walking back from that, at that point, Liz and I finished up, and I think it was 9 or 9:30, and then we went out to get something to eat. But those times, those things, when you can go and you can learn and you can talk to other people, those are the times that you go to National Convention for.
How about you, Lynn? Some general thoughts before we get into the nitty-gritty?
I thought it was a really, really good convention. I always try and put together my convention document before I go to try and list out the sessions that I want to go to. Unfortunately, I never get to go to everything I want to.
Yeah.
But some of that's because I get to meet up with people that are, from a different state, friends I've known for a long time. So it's all really, really good.
I wondered about that. I wondered, like, how many of the different little boutique meetings or whatever do you really get to just sit and, be informed and poured into? Because, as an affiliate president, you're probably doing a lot of other meetings that are not on the agenda. Do you not use, you mentioned building your own My Convention schedule. Do you not like the app that does allow you to kind of do that, right?
Yeah, it does. But no, I don't use it.
Okay.
And that's what I love about the conventions. That app to me is awesome.
It is pretty
and,
good.
you
I
can put
agree.
everything on your calendar if you want.
You can get the
but
reminders.
Right. So if you use the app, it's, you don't have to do, if there's anything, if I have to remember where I got to be at a certain time, and it's not going to happen.
Speaking of, I guess now we'll just go into things like exhibit hall, resolutions, speeches, starting with the exhibit hall. Any outstanding, innovative, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this vendor's here or this product is here. Anything like that stick out to either of you? Let me start with you, David, because I know that's where you geek out.
Yeah, that I did get to meet with, and I think it's called Field'em, the backpack company from South Korea, that ironically, their product, if it's in the United States, if somebody in the US buys it, is shipped from Norristown. So it was very cool to meet up with them. My friend Ed Plumacher had talked about them to us, and I had asked him about their backpacks, and he said, "Oh yeah, they're awesome." And I said, "Oh, I'm going to go get one." He said, "Oh my God, they're so expensive." And I said, "Well, how did you get them?" And evidently they had sponsored his U.S. blind baseball team.
So what does the backpack do, or what is it?
It's just, and I was this close to buying it, and I couldn't get back over there to get it. They are pricey. The one that I was looking at was around $300.
Oh, wow.
It was the way it was structured was, I always carry my GoPro gear around with me. And there was a compartment that would fit perfectly at the bottom of the bag laying down. Right now I have it in a backpack, that's not very structured. So everything flops around, and anything that's in the back kind of dictates how the pouches in front of it will respond. So sometimes I can't find something, but it's because it's tucked all the way under from the pouch in back of it pushing forward and so forth. So I I really like that idea. A couple other things that talked to some folks at Freedom Scientific, and we really went there because Liz wanted that little stuffed shark that has a T-shirt on it. We talked to a few people.
They were giving those away?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we got one of those. I think Liz was hoping to give it to Ziggy, but I think the eyes would come off and he would eat them. I mean, he's going to rip the thing to shreds anyway, but I talked to, and I can't remember her name. She's a T-shirt lady, and she knows Stacy and Denise and a lot of the other folks within the affiliate. And we should have her on because she does a lot of great things. It's not her main thing, though. She is, I think she said she was a mortgage banker or a real estate person. I don't remember what exactly. I got to talk to Sam Seavey before he was a Balatin Award winner. And if you remember, we had him on an episode years ago. And when I saw that he was going to be there, I just wanted to walk over and I introduced myself and we talked for a few minutes. And I talked to him. We talked to a couple other people from some of the other affiliates that were close by. And unfortunately, this year, we weren't next to Puerto Rico. We were next to Massachusetts and Texas. And we did talk to those folks too, but they weren't as exciting. No offense to Massachusetts and Texas. They weren't as exciting as Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So, and I actually it's funny that I mentioned that because I am wearing the NFB of Puerto Rico shirt today with the tactile braille on the back. And just a lot of things there. One of the funny things, the way our table was in the back row, facing forward towards the door where you come in, but slightly if you're at our table facing forward, slightly to the left of the door. Google was almost directly in front of us. Well, across the aisle from Google was that non-24, and I don't remember the name of the company.
Vanda Pharmaceutical.
Is that what it was, Vanda? They had this display. It looked as bright as the sun. Again, if I could see it, I knew it was bright. And it was shining right at Google. And I so wanted to go over to Google and say, and I don't think the people from Google were blind when they got to the conference. Maybe by the end, it's staring at that light. They might have been. And it just was funny about that. You know, some of the places had things to give away. Some gave away cookies and bags. And I went up to Wells Fargo and we got a bag. We didn't think to bring bags for when we made sales. So Liz was going to the different places and getting, if they were giving bags away, would grab some bags from them. And Wells Fargo were giving these bags away. I said, wait, this one doesn't have any money in it. And the guy said, oh, you got to come back tomorrow. I went back the next day, still didn't have any money in it. But so there were a lot of good things there. I just didn't get a lot of time to go to the tables. I didn't see, like last year, a lot of different places had these great T-shirts and nothing was as great as that this year to me. You know, Massachusetts still had their great purple shirt that I actually had that on yesterday that had "Where in the World is Over There" on the back. Puerto Rico didn't have shirts. They had shirts like this, but they were black with, I think, the blue writing. Liz bought a hat from there, which she really liked. And I was kind of disappointed. I did get an abs T-shirt, which was nice. Again, purple like the Massachusetts one, but it has a fleur-de-lis on it, and it says, tap the canes, let the good times roll, or something like that. Harriet got one in green, I know, and I knew when I saw that they had green. And again, I got to meet, you know, we've been working on this Mid-Atlantic Student Seminar, so I got to meet a couple of the people, Manah Hill and Zachary, got to meet them in person, which was very cool. I mean, the exhibit hall was good. The layout was a little weird, I thought, and I know people had trouble finding some of the places they wanted to go because they were constantly coming to the table and saying, hey, do you have this? Hey, do you have that? But the exhibit hall was nice. So the
states weren't in alphabetical order?
No.
Okay.
Again, we were between Massachusetts and Texas.
Yeah. Lynn, did you get to take in any of the exhibit hall? First of all, before you even go into that, I hear we did well in terms of what we sold. What were we selling? How did we do?
So we were selling chocolate-covered pretzels, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and white chocolate. We were selling small containers. I guess there were about 5 ounces of caramel popcorn from Johnson's Popcorn. Anybody who's been to the Jersey Shore on the Ocean City Boardwalk knows of Johnson's caramel popcorn. And we got donations from the Hers Company of a case of pretzels, potato chips, and cheese curls. And then we also had some.
So were you giving those away or those were also being sold?
Oh, those were also being sold.
Nice.
And we also had some of the canvas bags from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we had those on the table too. And we sold a few of those. I'm not sure how many. On my trip to the convention, I was crocheting in the car and I crocheted 6 hat and scarf sets.
Just in your ride there?
Yes. And
Wow, you're fast.
5 of the 6 sold at the exhibit hall table.
Wow.
And we
That's-
might have sold them all, but one guy wanted a different color. He wanted a different color.
What was it? It was a little hat, you said?
Oh, it's an adult hat
Uh-huh.
and a scarf, like for winter.
Yeah, like a beanie type hat, something like that.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, or
That's pretty cool.
a bucket hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, folks, you heard it here. If you want to put some orders in, you will no doubt have your items in time for Christmas because Lynn is rocket fast. Uh, so, very good, and we did well. All the pretzels were gone. I heard that from David because I didn't get a chance to snag a bag beforehand. So,
Yes, all the pretzels went.
uh-huh.
Most of the popcorn went.
Mm-hmm.
What was left of the popcorn I bought and I'm sending to my daughter in Washington State. And there were some of the snacks left,
Mm-hmm.
but really not a whole lot. My car was a lot lighter going home than it was
I'm
when we
sure you
went down.
appreciated that.
Yes.
And let me point out, that was one of the talking that Lisa did earlier about some issues. The first day, we had a little bit of an issue getting on the Wi-Fi at the hotel, but once we got on, we did great.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, we couldn't get on. And that left us, after the exhibit hall was done, with roughly about 25 bags of chocolate-covered pretzels. I don't remember what the breakdown was between milk and dark. White went the first day. We didn't have many of those.
That's interesting.
But we were
my least favorite, but who am I?
Yeah. I like white, but I knew we didn't have many, and I was planning if we had any left over, I would have bought a bag to help the cause. Liz doesn't like white chocolate either, so it would have been all me, and I don't need to eat that whole bag, a pound of chocolate-covered pretzels.
Mm-hmm.
But the last day of general sessions, we brought the chocolate-covered pretzels in, and one of the people that we're going to hear from later, Pari, was asked by Lynn to go outside and sell what you can of these. And we, of course, dropped the price. They were $20 in the exhibit hall. Again, it's a pound of chocolate-covered pretzels, and that's what they sell in the stores. That's what they sell them for.
Mm-hmm.
So we dropped the price to $10.
Oh, wow.
And she sold 17 bags of them. And by that point, we had sold a couple other bags. Pari had sold one to somebody for for $20. I said, well, we're going to sell them for 10. No, he told me he'd pay 20, so let's get 20.
Yeah.
And so she did. And Michelle had sold a bag to Michelle McManus. And so when all was said and done, we had a couple of bags left over. Some were taken by Bryant and Linda Mackey, and they ended up selling them before they left. And I know Kirk took a couple of bags. I don't know whether he sold them at this point or not. But Pari really helped us get, because what are we going to do with them? To drag them back home, and then what do you do? Because they obviously have a shelf life.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, Lynn, your thoughts on the exhibit hall?
So, like David, I mean, it was set up a little bizarre. I was a little disappointed because I really wanted to renew my JAWS subscription. And I have traditionally gone to the Freedom Scientific table and been able to do that. Well, I got to the Freedom Scientific table, which Liz gratefully helped me find. And they said, oh, well, we're not doing that here this year. Here's a card. You have to call them on the phone. And I'm like, oh, which, of course, I still haven't done. And my computer reminded me I have 15 days left before my subscription expires. So I need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I did go to the Michigan table. I found out that they have everything cherry. And I brought home 2 jars of cherry barbecue sauce.
Oh, that sounds good.
I know. So I'm going to pull out some pork chops and see how it goes.
Oh, my golly. What time's dinner?
I can second the cherry stuff from
I'll
the
help with the
Michigan booth.
cleanup.
Because Liz and I bought a few things. We didn't buy the barbecue sauce, but we bought a few other cherry items there.
So that's exhibit hall. Let's talk about, I guess we can go right into, what happened in the sessions. There were some pretty powerful names. I caught a lot of the sessions virtually. Let's talk about resolutions first. Anything, either of you, well, I guess both, anything that stood out to you of what maybe did not make it to the floor? Because I think there were either one or two resolutions that didn't see the light of day, and or anything that did get voted on, not voted on, that stood out to you. I guess I'll throw it to you first, Lynn.
So there was one resolution that did not make it to the floor, and I cannot remember, to be honest, what that was.
I always love that resolutions meeting, but go ahead, Lynn.
So there were several resolutions that, we had to do a delegate by delegate vote on. And the one that we voted no on, the PA voted no on, was basically the one regarding the Braille signage. And we didn't vote no because we didn't want Braille signage, but there's a lot of Braille signage that is correct. Okay. And so basically the resolution was saying to take down all the Braille signage and redo it in a unified English Braille code, which is the latest and greatest Braille code out there. And, my feeling is if it's up there and it's right, then leave it till it falls off and then fix it. I mean, do we really want to spend all that money going around and removing the Braille and then creating the new Braille? And, if we're expecting businesses to do this, it's going to cost money. And wouldn't we rather spend that money on something else? All the other resolutions, Pennsylvania agreed with. That was the one that we really didn't agree with.
What was the one where one of our members, Michelle, got up there and I think she did not agree with the resolution?
It was about the PDF, and
yes,
it was both funny and sad because a lot of folks, and I was on that Real Blind Tech show and we talked about this, and Lynn, like you, me, and Michelle had talked after it got shot down by everybody in the room but Michelle saying yes to it because they want Adobe to fix it so it's accessible, and I get that, but they want it for free, and nothing is for free. And the discussion we had on that Real Blind Tech show, yeah, they have to fix it. The fact that they get credit for being this far-reaching, accessible company, and then when you get Adobe Acrobat Pro, is if you get the latest version, it's not accessible, and they tell you to go use the previous version. How is that accessible? That's not moving forward, and that's, I think, where Michelle was coming from, and you can't expect it to be free. You got to fix it, and if you're going to pay for it, which everybody pays for, when you get Acrobat Pro, that was the bottom line. And Denise Brown and I were talking before resolutions, and she said, oh, yeah, there's only going to be one that may come to a vote. And then right out of the gates, number 1 was about the signs, and it went to the vote. And then number 13 and number 17 also went to the vote, which is very exciting. And of course, the biggest thing, Lisa, that happened during the first vote was the alarms going off, and everybody asked to leave the building.
I was really nervous. But you know what? In fact, so Lynn, I don't know if you know this, but when whenever the mics were up for people to come up, either to vote or the roll call and all of that, they were right by where you guys were sitting. So I could see David. I saw you a little bit. So when the alarms were going off, I'm texting, are you guys okay? It was really scary to watch that. But I will say our president was so smooth and cool. And that's what you want too. You want that. He's just like, let's just relax. We'll just wait. He just was not at all frazzled. But yeah, that was quite a moment. There's
Well,
always got to be some excitement one way or
uh,
the other, I guess.
always. Well, they came over the loudspeaker and they said that there was an incident on the second floor. And so
Yeah.
what you have to understand is the ballroom we were in was on the third floor.
Hmm.
So if you were going to go out and walk down the steps, you were like walking right past whatever was going on.
Yeah.
Worst of all, it was thundering and lightning and pouring down rain outside.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not going out there.
Yeah, I heard the weather was not so cooperative for most days, I think. Did you get a
Every
lot
day
of
it
rain?
rained.
Yeah.
Every day it rained, but sometime in the after, I called it rain o'clock. It said, "Oh, here comes the rain." And that day, and I'm wondering if that's what set the alarm off, because it was pouring along with the thunder and lightning, and Canal Street was just canal at that point, and they had the road blocked off so cars couldn't drive down it. The traffic lights at I don't know if it was at both ends of the block that we were on were out for probably into the evening. So it was bad, but every day it
Yeah.
rained. Every day in the afternoon, sometime between 12:30 and like 4 o'clock, it rained.
And, just to back up, like you were talking about the exhibit hall earlier.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the thing with this convention is that the exhibit hall was not in the hotel, the main hotel.
Mhm.
The exhibit hall was across the street. Here we are. We've got these suitcases
Yeah.
full of pretzels and this and that, the next thing. And
Oh, so you had to remove all of
we,
the items each evening and then
no, we,
reload?
no, we're taking the stuff across the street and it's pouring down rain.
God.
Okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope that these bags of pretzels did not get wet. I hope that the water did not get into the suitcase.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we were okay. But, that was another thing that made me not go to the exhibit hall a lot was because
Mhm.
it was across the street.
Mhm.
And not that I care about crossing the street, but, it was just out of the way
It's
a little
crossing
bit.
the street in a downpour is a whole 'nother thing, though. Too bad they
Right.
didn't have an overpass or
Right. And that
something.
was the problem as we were taking I was carrying the bag of the hers products, which were, I don't remember, 3 or 4 bags or 5 bags, and they were all paper shopping bags because we took them out of
Uh,
we took so I wasn't going to walk across and get halfway across the
yeah.
canal and then have to have to pick them all
Mhm.
up. Now, Lynn, I don't know if when you crossed, Liz would not go to the corner. She would drag me across in the middle of the block like
Didn't
John.
they make an announcement, like,
Yeah, John said,
during
"Don't do that." Yeah,
Mhm.
"You will have
yeah.
no
Yes,
recourse."
yeah. We walked right up because literally you walked out of the Marriott, you crossed the street, crossed the trolley tracks, crossed the other side of the street, and you walked into the Sheraton. It
Yeah.
was just such an easy straight shot. Now
Yeah.
in the mornings, and I didn't notice this all the times, they had police at the corner to cross the street, and they would tell you, okay, it's safe to cross, and
Yes.
Mhm.
and things
Yes.
like that. But when if I was crossing with Liz, which I did sometimes, but there were other times where Liz was manning the table and I was going back over there that I did not do that on my own. I have a great fear of crossing streets, as I've mentioned a million
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
and I would go to the corner. And at least one time I had to ask somebody, I said, "Do you know, can we go now?" Because they didn't have the audio devices to tell you, the beeping or, walk or whatever it might say.
So, now that we're talking about and we can switch back to inside the convention, but I actually felt like there were a a bit more people than in previous years who did not go. And one person said she specifically did not enjoy the last time the convention was in New Orleans. Um, so did either of you feel like this is of all of the cities, maybe not the safest, or just the setup is just a little too awkward? Like, you already described how the inside the exhibit hall was a little off, but in general, do you think we've done better at other cities?
I personally love being downtown in any of the the events. I never got any of that. I thought the city itself, the hotel was decent. And again, there's all sorts of elevator stories you'll hear, but
Yeah.
everything about it was good. I just think maybe that person had a bad time at that point with the elevators or something, maybe a couple years ago. I don't know. I thought I liked being in New Orleans, and I said to Liz the other day, we should go back at some point when we're not constantly work. I honestly felt like I was back in retail, working
Yeah.
the exhibit hall
Well, it
table.
is more of a job for you guys. It
Yeah.
is.
So, we should go back. I said to her, we should go back and just go to the different places because we did eat at great places. Each night we ate at great places, the nights that we actually got to eat dinner. But
And that's why some people go out a couple of days ahead just so they
Right.
can enjoy the city and the place. Because even if you're not, if you don't have the demands like you two, you still have all of those convention things that you want to do. And a lot of times that means you never go outside the hotel. So if you can afford it, going out there those 2, maybe even 3 days, maybe 2 days ahead, it's helpful. But Lynn, do you like New Orleans?
I think, like David, I would have liked it more if there was less pressure and other things that I needed to do. The elevator system this year was different than when we were there in 2022, but it was still a little challenging because you needed to be able to listen to it. And I
And there was so
finally,
much noise otherwise. Yeah.
yes. So I finally got to the point that I would go up to like the second or third floor and I would catch the elevator there because I could hear what I needed to hear.
That's smart.
And the only other hotel that I remember was just so bad was the hotel in Vegas.
Yeah, that was 10
I
times
was,
worse.
yeah.
That
Oh,
was
I
gosh.
was there
terrible.
that year. Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah. That was that was our first one, right, David?
Again, that was my first half of one, yes.
But you're not bitter about it, right?
I can say that American Airlines treated me very well this time, so all is good.
And I did hear there were several people that had delayed flights getting out.
Yeah.
Some people,
Weather-related issues?
well, no, that Michelle McManus was flying United, and she actually got a text message that they didn't have a crew for her plane.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, And they ended up putting her up for the night and letting her go the next day.
I don't think they were weather related to New Orleans, but they may have been weather related in other cities where, maybe in that instance, the crew didn't get from point A to point B to get to New Orleans or whatnot. Angela's daughter had a heck of a time getting home and ended up going from New Orleans to Houston after one flight was canceled, and then she got hung up in Houston for a while. I know Clarence didn't get home the next day. He ended up staying over. I'm not sure if the airline paid for his room or not. But yeah, there were issues, and it was a stormy week in other parts of the country, and I think that was the main reason. It wasn't there may have been some issues in New Orleans at certain times, but I don't think that was the bulk of the issue there.
Well, I know there were a lot of storms up here because I have alerts on my phone, and every day I would get bad weather alerts on my phone. So, that's like really possible.
Yeah.
The flight crews just couldn't get to where they needed to be.
Yeah.
It made me glad to know that once my car was packed, we could go.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, nice to have that control.
Mhm.
So going back to the convention floor, what was opening ceremony like? That's usually a big to-do, right?
It was a big to-do. Of course, the veterans did their thing, which was very nice. And then, they did have the brass band come in and play, and I believe it was probably members of the Louisiana affiliate were handing out the beads for everybody. And they actually did a historical, which, it all becomes a blur after a while, but they talked a bit about the history of New Orleans and things of that nature. It was really pretty cool.
Yeah, and just to point out, I always thought the beads, and they handed out the beads, you didn't have to show anything. The beads that they were handing out they were like the size of pearls. I always thought that they were just those little cheap plastic beads. I mean, these things that they handed out were, I don't remember the colors that Liz told me they were. I know they were purples and greens, I'm guessing, but they also had this almost like a medallion. It was the Whozit circle from the logo in those same colors, the purple, the yellow, and or purple, gold, and green. And at first I didn't take them, and somebody said, "Oh, you got to get some of these." And I said, "Okay." And I wasn't sure. Liz did not spend time in general sessions, so she didn't get any, but she had brought me something at one point, and somebody had given her some on the way out. So they were very cool. And to Lynn's point, the guy that they had that brought Elvis was in the building.
Oh my gosh.
That guy, I would have loved to have talked to that
version of
guy.
him anyway.
I would have loved to talk to Captain, whatever his name was, with Elvis the little alligator. That it was awesome. And then, I said I was sitting near Tess from Patton. They were doing the history, and he was telling the story about Louis Armstrong. And I never knew this. And so evidently Louis Armstrong was doing some kid stuff when he was a kid, and he ended up shooting a gun off, and I guess he got arrested and sent to some sort of juvenile home. And you know what he did at that juvenile home? That's where he first found a trumpet and started playing the trumpet. So I leaned over to Tess. I said, "Are we saying gun violence is good here? Because what would have happened? What would have happened if that didn't happen? We wouldn't be flying from Louis Armstrong Airport. Most likely." So I thought that was very interesting. And it's funny how things happen like that.
What did I'm just thinking of, people being memorialized. So that's how my brain is tying this in, because you guys are like, what? What made her ask that? But what did they say about the museum? Were there any updates on the Blind Museum? Museum of the Blind, I should say.
Yeah, the Museum of the Blind People's Movement. They did talk about that, and they did actually have a pretty good presentation. I guess it was the last day of general sessions, and they had a video and everything, and they did talk about it at some point, whether it was general sessions or it was at the banquet, and they did mention that.
Do you recall when did they mention like a targeted date when this might be a reality?
I don't think they
when
did.
When they get the money to build it.
Yeah, I think it was the money. I saw the space that they have all set aside, ready to go when I was at the Jernigan Institute at some point over the last few months. And it's a nice space, and it's nice that it's in that building, because that building is really something special. One thing that you mentioned that I don't remember happening, and maybe one of the issues that I had, and Harriet and I had talked about this too. When I was in general sessions, people are calling and texting me, "Hey, where do I go for this? Hey, how do I do that? What do I do here? What do I do there?" So I missed a few things, even though I was present in the room. I don't remember them going over like they did a couple of years ago when Buck Smith had died and we heard his name mentioned. I don't remember if that was Orlando or Houston. And I'm like, wow, that's very cool. I don't remember them doing that this year.
So, like a roll call of people who had passed away?
Yes. They did that. They did it at the board meeting. They mentioned Patricia, and they mentioned Chuck, and they mentioned Stan Ingram and Ruth Chamberlain.
The speeches. I saw someone from Meta, Social Security. Either of you blown away by anybody's presentation? or maybe I'm being facetious about being blown away, but anything that was particularly helpful this year? David?
I don't know that I would say particularly helpful, but I was interested to learn about the guy from Social Security. I think he said it was his grandfather that was blind. And I was surprised at his whole presentation. It was something that I wasn't expecting. I also always love and this year I think there were two of them. I don't remember the one guy from Library of Congress bringing someone else, but I love the one guy who the one year, every time I see him or hear his name, I start to laugh because he was talking about, I don't remember, some sort of vampire romance, something novels a couple of years ago during his presentation. And now whenever I hear him, I think back to that. And they were good. There were a lot of great presentations. And the woman who worked at, want to say NASA. Her last name was
Yeah.
Diaz, I think.
She was the one that she was the inspiration, I think is the way I can say it, for the students at Harvard or whatever that school was that developed that light sound device.
Yeah, she was good. I mean, there were a lot of great things. And Lisa, I'm pretty sure I told you, but the person, and I can't remember her name, and I'm sorry that I can't remember it, but I want to get her on the podcast. She ended up winning a Balatin Award. She did the sex study because I can't wait to do an episode with her. And I'm just going to call it Blind Sex and see how many extra downloads we get. She was also very good. And I don't know how old she is, but I really liked her, like her tone and just the way she was talking about things. I really liked every one of them. And typically when they talk about who's coming up, Lynn at one point had asked me to go get something. I'm like, oh, I'm not going during this guy. I'm not going during this girl. I'm not going.
Yeah.
When am I going to go?
Yeah.
And the same thing goes when I had to go to the bathroom because I had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, how long am I going to be able to hold it?
Case. Yeah.
I don't want to miss a door prize. I don't want to miss the person speaking.
Lynn, how about you? Any particular speech or presentation you enjoyed more?
I really liked Casey Robertson is the person who created the reading media assessment for blind kids. And she received a Balatin Award this year. I really loved listening to her. She did a big presentation last year at the National Convention. I always enjoy listening to John Perret and his team with the legislative stuff and what's coming up. I really did like the guy in the beginning with the at the opening with Elvis the gator. And I'm like, as long as he doesn't let go of that gator, I'm in good shape. I do have to say, it was very interesting because, when you tell people about general session and where to sit, you're always saying, well, the states are in alphabetical order and there's a tag and PA's has a big PA on the tag. And then in Braille, it has PENN. Okay. Well, this year it was very interesting because instead of sitting behind Oregon, which we've always sat behind Oregon, we were sitting behind Rhode Island. And South Carolina was behind us. And then I think Puerto Rico was behind them. And Ohio was somewhere off to the left. And I'm like, people are going to say, the first timers are going to come and say, well, Lynn doesn't know what she's talking about because it was just really crazy.
Was that because the delegations were larger, smaller? Like, did it have anything to do with that?
I don't know. I actually stopped and I was trying to find John Bergman, and I ended up talking to Mrs. Jernigan, which was a really great thing. And, she told me who was in charge of setting up the ballroom and that, maybe they had to do certain spaces for certain ways, a certain amount of people. Because she even was standing up and she was looking and like, this is bizarre. I don't quite know why this is like this. So
it made it tough. If you didn't know where your state was, you weren't going to find it by by going in alphabetical order. You just weren't going to find it. And it made it tough. And that's, you walk into the exhibit hall and everybody's always shouting, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, whatever, in the different states. So and that was helpful to folks. But it made it challenging for folks to find the states they wanted to be at.
Well, let's talk about Riccobono's speech. Any thoughts, either of you?
I was surprised he sang at the beginning. I was very shocked at that. I'm like, wow. So and then he closed out at the end with with the singing. I thought it was a good speech. My big takeaway at the banquet was, again, there was a video. Was it for the museum? It was for something. And the voiceover, I'm pretty sure it was Melissa Riccobono that did it. I loved the voiceover. So, and I know, Lisa, we've done some things with her regarding voiceover stuff. And I just thought it was outstanding. I don't remember what I don't remember what she talked about, but it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed that.
The one thing about the banquet speeches is that it's a culmination of a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really meant to make you think and give you inspiration for moving forward with the affiliate. Maybe personally something that you're struggling with regarding your blindness. And I found the speech to, in particular, do that for me this year. We've had some things with within the affiliate, and there's a lot going on, and we've got a lot of really positive stuff coming up within the affiliate. So, it really, really did give me some inspiration.
So who got the big award at the end? Was that the Pembroke?
The director of the Colorado Center for the Blind,
Yes.
Julie Deaton.
Mm-hmm. Now, what does she get? Because I don't think did they always mention they presented a plaque, but don't all of those awards also come with some cash?
I do believe that there is some cash. I don't think they mentioned it this year.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
When President Riccobono gave his financial report, it's really clear that we need to sort of step up the game and do some better outreach to help with funding. Because if the Colorado Center had actually given that money to national, we wouldn't have been in the black. I've been coming to national conventions since 2001, and I don't remember us ever not being in the black. Even all through raising money to build the Jernigan Institute. We never seem to have the funding issues, getting donations, things of that sort. And, so I don't know if people have sort of slowed down on that. It could also be the times. I think COVID had a lot to do with a downturn in the economy and what have you. I just hope that things, move forward in a better way.
What were the other awards? So there was that Pembroke, and then there were a couple of others, right?
Well, there was
quite a few others.
The scholarship finalists, the scholarship class was recognized, and Millie Rivera got the big money, the $12,000. I know there were a lot of door prizes and things given out, and a lot of big drawings.
The money I thought was different for the door prizes there, meaning more than what I remembered in previous years, where they were doing $200, $300. It wasn't $25 gift cards anymore. It was.
But didn't Jim get like a couple $100 one year? Wasn't that also at the banquet?
No, he actually got the big money at the very end when we were in New Orleans in 2022. They pulled his name for the big pot at the end.
Yeah. That's what I said, at the banquet.
Yeah, it was a couple $1,000s. I'm not sure who got that.
Oh, a couple thousand.
Year.
Oh.
This year it was 2025, whatever year it was 2020, whatever.
How was the food?
The banquet food?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was all right. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. And, everybody's always, my big thing with that, I was texting with both Jane and Liz before I went down. I walked down from my room because the way the elevators were that day, and I got down there and I'm thinking, what was I thinking? I was on the 32nd floor.
I got down there 32 flights of stairs?
I did that at least 4 other times.
Oh my God.
It doesn't take as long as you'd think. But I got down there and then I'm standing, everybody's waiting to go in. And so I'm a little overheated from coming down all the
You
stairs.
think?
And then you're packed in, waiting for the doors to open. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, boy, I hope we get to go in soon. I am so thirsty. I wasn't thinking when I was walking down all those stairs that I was going to stand shoulder to shoulder with so many people for so long.
Yeah.
And when I got in and I got to the table, we were table 88, and I was sitting near Brian and Linda, and they said, oh, do you want our iced tea? And I'm like, oh, that's the magic words. I mean, I said, of course I do. And so I had texted before going down, I had texted with Jane and Liz. I said, what's the over-under for iced teas for me? And I think I said the over-under was 7, but I forgot that they never come around to refill that.
No.
So what you get is what you get. So I had 3. I had my own plus Brian and Linda's. So when I got back to my room and I texted Jane, I said it was 3. It was under. If you took the under, you won.
You know, earlier, David, I meant to ask you about the sports and recreation division. Did they have something exciting this year?
Not like last year. No, it's going to go a while before you top axe throwing. It was one of the things I could mention too, talking about sports and rec. While I was at our table, our exhibit hall table, a guy comes over, and I had actually met him when I went to the Nevada State Convention, and he and his family are Australian. They had come in for that convention, and they do, I think they may live somewhere in the US. Maybe it's his nephews and nieces that come in, but we exchanged some contact information. So we're hoping that we can have him on doing something at our convention in November. He was a tennis guy, blind tennis.
Well, another convention on the books, and we've got our own we're preparing for. You guys want to mention anything briefly about our state convention in November?
Sure. It's November 13th to November 16th at the Best Western Premier Hotel in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And, it would be great to have as many people as we can possibly have come. It should be really awesome. I know David's been working really hard as our convention chairperson and our website guru to get things going. I don't know, David, you want to add something?
It's going to be a little bit different this year. The initial quote unquote early bird is going to be an all-inclusive package where you get your registration, you get all the meals, and it's one price. It's $200. If you don't like that idea of buying all the meals, that's okay. Come September 15th, you can go in and pick and choose whichever meals you want. But just keep in mind, if you're going to buy the majority of the meals, you're better off doing the all-inclusive. You save around 25% over if you're going to buy most of the meals. For example, if you're not going to buy the breakfasts on Thursday and Friday, you're better off doing the all-inclusive. If you're going to skip even breakfast on Sunday, you're still better doing the all-inclusive. So it is something that's a little bit different that we're going to try, and we'll see if it works. We'll see if it doesn't. And I'm looking forward to the Best Western. It's a very nice property. We've had a couple of blind merchant events there, and the staff is very friendly. So it's going to be an exciting time to be there. And hopefully we'll have a lot of great things going on. We've been reaching out to organizations for donations for the auction. And Liz has contacted every sports team in the state, some I've never even heard of. But we've gotten some responses saying that it looks like they're going to give. There's a couple of teams that have a very specific window when you have to ask to get something. It can't be closer than 3 weeks away, but it can't be more than 6 weeks away. So Pittsburgh Pirates, you'll be hearing from me in September.
So folks can book their travel, they can even get their room, but the actual convention registration is still TBD.
Jumping in with this edit, registration is open. Go to nfbofpa.org/register to register today. Yes, you can call the hotel. The room block goes from Wednesday night through Saturday night, so check in Wednesday, check out Sunday. You don't have to come that whole time, but you can to get the room rate there. And remember, when you do go, if you're coming in by train, you let the hotel know the day before what time your train is due in, and they have a shuttle that will bring you from the train station over to the hotel. Or if you're flying in, which I'm not sure anybody in Pennsylvania would fly into Harrisburg, but if you are, same thing goes. Give your flight information, and then they will have someone take the shuttle and grab you when you do land.
Well, David and Lynn, thanks so much for filling those of us who were left behind in on all the things that we missed at this year's convention, but let it be an encouragement and inspiration to make sure we don't miss it next year. David and Lynn, thank you.
You're very welcome. We missed you, and we look forward to having you in our delegation next year.
Lisa, we did miss you, and hopefully come next year convention season when we're in Austin from the 3rd to the 8th of July, you will be there. Liz and I are really looking forward to going to Austin. Again, another great food city. And I expect to come back a few pounds heavier after that. Not because of the chocolate-covered pretzels that I ate all day long every day.
Yeah. It definitely, as we're going to hear, we have some clips from folks who went for the first time. So David, this was what, number 4 for you?
3.5, I think. Let's see. I've gone to the last 3 years. So Austin, Orlando, New Orleans, and before that was Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't think 2020 and 2021 were virtual, which I, of course, did, but in person, yeah. So I've been to 4, technically 3.5, not 4 whole ones.
I've only gone to 2 in person, and it's just not old yet. And honestly, I don't know that it will get old because it's different every year. I am not of the sentiment like you've been to one convention, you've been to them all, because 1, geographically, no, you have not. And then 2, like the content, there was a lot more, which we didn't talk about actually. There was a lot more content on AI this year, at least from what I could see of the agenda, which speaks to how the convention planners really try to stay relevant with whatever is going on in the rest of the world. So I don't see how, even after 20 years, I would ever say that, another convention. There's never ho-hum.
It's never that way to me because, again, sometimes you only see these people once a year. Just like with the state convention, you see the people once a year when we do leadership. If we have it in person, you see them twice a year, maybe at some other events or at national convention. And there is something about it that you recharge and you get pumped up about things. Again, like you said, AI really was a lot this year, and for good reason. AI makes a lot of things accessible that typically aren't, which is outstanding. And it's just something to be there and seeing people. And again, you see people at varying degrees of mobility and confidence and courage. Some are terrified at the beginning. And then as they get used to things and they say, okay, this is over here, that's over there, I know where to go, then you can see them coming around and you see them gaining confidence. And it's just, it makes everything good. And to meet folks from all around the country that you meet there and talk to, it's just an outstanding thing.
And as we will hear from, we've got 3 folks that were gracious enough to send us their feedback, their reflections. We've got 2 audio clips that we'll play, and another person actually wrote us a lovely letter. Let's start, David, with Denise Johnson. Denise is relatively new to Keystone. This was her first convention. Any thoughts from you, David?
Yeah, she really took a lot out of it. And we had talked both at our Keystone chapter dinner, walking from the hotel to that. She was so pumped up from a lot of the things that she learned. And it was just nice to see how excited she was. And again, because she's new to the chapter and new to the NFB for that matter, it was nice to see that. And let's hear from Denise, and you'll hear it in her own words.
What was the most memorable convention moment? For me, as there were quite a few, I volunteered as an SSP. I was matched with a young lady by the name of Tanya Clayton of Rome, Georgia. We attended sessions together. I made sure she made her sessions, and we met up at times because we had so much in common that we shared. And now we're besties and lifelong friends. What is the one thing I wish I had gotten to do? I did everything that I wanted to accomplish. As Denise, within C, Brown, is my mentor. I used the hashtag NFB25 app However, as Denise being my mentor, she sent over well drawn out plans of where each session was in the hotel. So I got to do everything other than maybe the jazz club. What is my overall impression? The love, the level of knowledge, the people I met. Again, the love and knowledge. It was highly educational. It was spiritual. It was so much love. Would I go again? Yes. And why? Love and fellowship, the education, the level of wisdom, the educators that were in that room. We made history, and we will continue to make history. It was epic for me. I was considered a rookie, and I played that role, and it felt so good. I was honored to be present at such a wonderful event. I look forward to 2026, 2027, and thereafter. I also had the pleasure and the opportunity to try myself and sign up for to be Miss Blind Diva of 2026. So thank you all for having me, and we are it. We will continue to grow.
So when I talked to Denise, she actually said 3 minutes was not long enough. So I agree with you, David. She really had a lot to say. She's so pumped about future conventions.
She really is. And it's nice to see that. The next person we're going to hear from is Clarence. Now, he's been an NFB of Pennsylvania member for quite a while, maybe as long as me. But this was his first convention. He actually won a Jernigan scholarship to go. And so he had a lot of interesting takes on what went on. And it was nice to hear from him with what he had to say.
First, what I wish I would have done is see some more of New Orleans. It is a very pretty city and welcoming. And I wish I would have maybe taken a tour through the Ninth Ward and just got more out into the city and mingle with the people a bit more. When it comes to the convention itself, I had a wonderful time. I thought it was great. With no others to compare it to, I would say that I would still be willing to go to them for the rest of my days. I really don't want to miss another one. And the most memorable moment for me was definitely the fire alarm.
So our last clip, which is actually a great letter that we received from Pari, who is new to the affiliate and is starting in September at Bryn Mawr College.
It was nice to see how Pari was so eager to help. She helped us in the exhibit hall. And as we mentioned in the interview, Pari was the one that was able to sell 17 bags of the chocolate-covered pretzels, so Lynn wasn't eating those all the way home to Pennsylvania from Louisiana. And it was good to see that she was so excited to be there. Now, one thing she was very disappointed that she was not a scholarship finalist. But then she heard Chris Danielson speak. Chris Danielson had said during his presentation, he had applied 3 times.
That's right.
So after he got done and we were leaving the hall that day, I said to Pari, I said, see, he didn't get it on his first time or his second time. Keep trying.
And look where he is now.
Yep. Keep trying. And so she's a very bright individual. So we're going to hear from Pari through the voice of AI. Her words, not her voice.
My name is Pari Piridi, and I attended the 2025 National Federation of the Blind National Convention for the first time. One of the most memorable parts of the convention for me was attending the Monarch AI features demo session. I thought it was really cool that Monarch could generate tactile graphics in seconds, and we can even interact with pictures using AI voice. Another highlight was exploring the exhibit hall. I really enjoyed walking around and seeing a lot of cool things like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, and also learned about various opportunities out there for blind people. I wish I could have attended the entire NABS meeting, but I was only able to be there for part of it during this convention. Overall, I really enjoyed going to the convention for the first time. It was a great experience, and I felt like I learned a lot of new things. I would love to go again because I wasn't able to attend all the sessions this time, and I'd like the chance to attend the ones I missed. It also felt really nice interacting with other blind people like me. Attending the convention is a great way to connect with others and build friendships. Thank you.
Thanks to Clarence, Denise, Pari. We really appreciate your feedback and helping us to put this episode together.
And remember, if you've got something to say, whether it's about national convention, questions about any other show, questions about state convention, you can reach out to us a couple of ways. I'll give you the phone number. It's 267-338-4495. You can do like Denise did. You've got up to 3 minutes. Please leave your name and town if you do leave a voicemail. And it is something, if you do leave a voicemail, we may use it on an upcoming episode. 267-338-4495.
And you can always go the route that Pari took, and that's email us. It's really easy to do. whitecanesconnect@gmail.com.
So, Lisa, it was another good recap. And again, hopefully next year in Austin, you will be there.
Boy, I really feel the pressure. Yes. Hopefully, most likely, we'll be there. How's that for definitive?
There you go. Really, way to nail it. So we're going to need everybody who listens to call in the number that I previously gave you or email and saying, hey, Lisa, I'm going to convention. You should too. So remember that come next March or April. Remember, 267-338-4495 or whitecanesconnect@gmail.com and say, Lisa, I'm going, you come too.
And that is how we do bullying in the Federation. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Take care.